tell me, difference between Hinduism and Hindutva. Is it the same thing or not? You've been asked this a million times, but still. Okay. Hinduism and Hindutva. And is Dharma and Sanatan Dharma the same thing?
Right. So, Hindutva is a religio-political civilizational construct which is resistive in nature to protect Hindu Dharma and its adherents. It is a necessity of the times we live in. Unfortunately so, even after several years of Savarkar's passing. And I've said this in my debate with Mr. Tharoor or Dr. Tharoor, that it came much before Savarkar and it was actually formulated by Chandranath Boshu. Not Savarkar. Savarkar did not coin Hindutva, it came much before him. And a detailed extract exists, an exposition of what is Hindutva. So Hindutva in that particular sense, Twa translates to ness, and therefore it's Hindu-ness. And it is to say, wear that identity with pride. So Hinduism is the object of protection. Hindutva is both the sword as well as the shield to protect that particular Hindu nature. That's the answer. Now, from my perspective, what does it translate to? I've clearly said in the first book that a civilizational attempt at rediscovering your roots and reinscribing your values on the political establishment is Hindutva, and it is perfectly justified. We don't need to be apologetic about it even one bit.
So Hinduism can coexist peacefully along with Hindutva. They don't need to be in dissonance with each other?
The existence of Hinduism in the current day is predicated on Hindutva being kept alive. If Hinduism were living in peacetime, Hindutva will sleep. But if that's not the case, Hindutva has to stand up. It is the Kshatriya aspect of Hinduism.
Oh, that's profound. Okay.
Now coming to the
Dharma and Sanatan Dharma.
There is no distinction. To the best of my limited knowledge as an untrained person, my training has just about begun. See, Dharma is seen as a code of conduct. But if you go deeper, what is the meaning of Dharma? It comes from Rita is the root. From Rita, which is effectively righteousness in thought, it comes down to Satya, which is righteousness in speech. And Dharma is righteousness in action. So it is Manasa, Vacha, Karmana. That is the three-layered philosophy between this. So Dharma is the final manifestation of Rita.
Okay.
Therefore, Rita is what is right and righteous according to cosmological balance. So whatever is meant to keep this balance in the same place and alive is Dharma. So Dharma is Dhara iti Dharma, which is that which sustains. What does it sustain? This cosmic balance. Now, Sanatana Dharma is because it is effectively a principle of the universe, it is therefore immortal and eternal.
Okay, you were talking about Hindutva and Kshatriya. Now, as we head closer to elections in Karnataka, this whole thing about Hindutva is going to come up because the Congress in Karnataka, I'm coming back to the present, the Congress in Karnataka keeps talking about the BJP being, that they are extremists. I think the word is ugragami that is used against the BJP, that they are extremists of Hinduism and that is going to disrupt peaceful society in Karnataka. Now, there are several elections which are coming about. This whole thing about who is a Hindu is something that is going to come again and again. And there is going to be weaponization of political Hinduism.
Correct.
That's going to happen.
Right.
What do you see the future of this intellectual debate degenerating into this?
Political discourse is rarely intellectual. You know this better than I do. It has no space for nuance. It has no space for layers. It has no space for patience. Which is why I stay away from the hustle and bustle and the ebb and tide of daily politics, because that's not my concern. My investment, hopefully, and the investment of my time is in the society. Because my hope is that a more Hindu-conscious society will produce better options as and when the times call for it, because I think it will, or they will. And therefore, this nonsensical discussion that happens at the political platform, I don't think anybody knows what they're talking about beyond a point. And I'm not saying this from a position of arrogance. I am saying this as a student of the subject, as someone who understands political science, that I don't know if they are capable of actually having this discussion at length beyond a primetime television debate. Because that would really show what is the depth of their knowledge and their understanding of their own positions. We are not looking at the ideologues of a particular movement. You're looking at people who are contesting elections.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to even give them, and let's be real, I can't expect them to know Sanatan Dharma in its
But they are
most
the
profoundest.
practitioners and they are the ones who are influencing voting public. So you know how important that is, right?
So between you and me, let's agree on one thing. Societal discussion has a certain degree of nuance. By the time it percolates, let's say it telescopes into a political discussion, that nuance comes out. But even the societal discussion doesn't usually have nuance. It is then in the intellectual elites where the nuance actually comes. So I would basically apply the Hindu philosophy of Desha Kala Samaya, which is to say, this platform requires a broad attack on a particular position or a broad exposition of a certain position. I can't help the fact that the nature of the process and the nature of the platform doesn't lend itself to nuance. But does it capture the broad essence of it? I would say it does.
I didn't understand Desha Kala Samaya.
Which
How?
is to say, a discussion that happens perhaps, let's say, in a seminar on Hindutva between academics is not going to be the same as a discussion on Hindutva between politicians.
Correct.
Right? So therefore, the space will determine the degree of nuance that is possible. However, the nature of political discussion is that it's going to be moti buddhi only beyond a point. Right? But to the extent that it captures the point mota mota, I'm okay with it. And there's a good reason for this. Why? This particular position has not had representation for such a long time and such a forceful representation. And as a community which is already lacking in options, I am not going to be nitpicking here to say I need someone who is able to define Hindutva with a greater degree of nuance. Let's get real. Then it falls upon the society to inform itself better, independent of the political discussion also.
So it's not just political, it's happening with this Pathan controversy also, and in Bollywood, the whole thing about Bollywood. No, it is becoming important, no? You saw recently...
I agree with you, but I'll tell you where...
all these Bollywood people, they met up with Yogi and they said that stop this ban culture because unless you speak up for us, it's impacting on industry also now.
So let me say something which most people may not even anticipate. The speed with which the community reacted to the Pathan controversy is not the speed with which it reacts on freedom of temples from the state, is not the speed with which it reacts on environmental issues. So these insta gratification issues, we seem to be quick to take up to and immediately react because, oh, we did this, we got something boycotted, that was the end of it. Okay, but what next? So in one of my discussions, I've clearly said Hindutva or Hindu decoloniality has two aspects. One is the resistive. The other has to be very, very positive. It means make sure that your institutions are self-sufficient and are independent of the state. Make sure that your institutions reach out to people on two important sectors, health and education. Make sure that no woman from this particular community is ever unsafe. Make sure that no person from this particular community is ever hungry, ever goes unfed at nights. This is exactly what the temples used to do. That at the end of the day, before the temple is shut, the pujari comes out waving a bell. Is anybody hungry? Is anybody hungry? Is anybody hungry? The reputation that, or let's say the perception of the langars in the popular mind has to be the perception of people with respect to mandirs. Because at the end of the day, Annadanam is our concept, right? So these are certain positives. Now, all these discussions are not capable of being had at the political level. Because it's when you're in a constant election cycle, where is the scope for these kind of discussions? So there are two realms, I would say. The societal realm where Hindutva is spoken of and discussed and entrenched in better ways, in more positive ways. And then the political realm where it's a free-for-all, it's a battle. That can't be helped. I am not going to take away the right of the society to discuss and entrench Hindutva, citing the political discussion and the lack of its nuance. Sorry, the comparison is unfair.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sai. And all the best. I hope your book does very well because it's like you said that you have cited so many sources and it's very interesting reading. And I hope not just youngsters who are interested in history, but everybody gets to read this. Thank you very much for coming to the podcast.
Thank you for giving me space. Thank you.
Thanks.